Hey everyone, and welcome to another Sasquatch Theory podcast. On this episode, we have Dan from Hillsboro, Illinois, and he wanted to log down his Bigfoot experience on the channel. I have spoken with a lot of people in the past that have had strange experiences out in the forest and no Bigfoot sighting, but I do encourage people to come forward and log down your experiences because I feel like it's really important for the research, even if you didn't see the creature. If you guys can, please subscribe to the channel or follow the podcast, like the video, and comment down below. Alright guys, with all that being said, let's dive into Dan's Bigfoot experience from the state of Illinois. Alright Dan, welcome to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to hear. Dan, if you would, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and your Bigfoot encounters and experiences from the very beginning, please.
Okay, my name's Dan. I live in Hillsboro, Illinois, and I'm a retired correctional lieutenant. I've been through this about 30 years, almost 30 years in the Department of Corrections, and I've got a wife, 3 children, and 2 grandchildren. And as far as that's about all I can give you. A little more information, or would you like less?
No, that's perfectly fine. Dan, if you would, tell me what you were doing that day that you had an experience, kind of where you were at. Put me in your shoes, please.
Yeah, I've got property in Donaldson, Illinois, which is approximately 10 miles from where I live. And I had been clearing my property for my wife's birthday party. And once I got everything cleared, I brought my lawnmower out, and I've got a 1.5 acre pond. And I cleared everything around my pond with a lawnmower. So I made sure everything looked really nice for the party. And like I said, it was almost like a yard around my pond. I finished up about 7 p.m. in October of 2020. This occurred. And I had just sat down at the picnic table and grabbed a beer and was just sitting there. And all of a sudden, I heard a sound that sounded like someone had set a speaker by me, and a lion had roared into it. I jumped up and thought, what the heck? Was thinking to myself, what is that? What was that? And then I ran to where I thought I had heard it, and was kind of looking around the area to see if anything was there, and I'd seen absolutely nothing. And then at that point, the coyotes started going absolutely crazy. It sounded like 10, 15 maybe coyotes just going nuts. And then I heard a couple of yelps from the coyotes themselves. And then I thought, well, I'd mimic the sound of what I'd heard, and I mimicked it, and then actually tried to do a knock. And from that point on, the whole wood area that I live near, or that I live on, just went completely quiet. You could hear a pin drop. And that happened right around 7:15, and from 7:15 on that evening, I never heard another sound. Everything was quiet. So the next day I came back out because I was still working on cleaning everything up and getting the party ready. And I got there right around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and went over and sat down at the picnic table for a minute. And I happened to look down by the pond, and I found or saw 2 large bones that were sitting parallel with each other. Now, granted, the day before and the night before, there was nothing at the pond. There's absolutely, it had been cleared. And I'd found 2 large bones there. And I thought, that's kind of strange. I've never seen any bones actually sitting around my pond or anywhere in my area, really. And I thought to myself, that's kind of strange. But then I'm still kind of second guessing myself the whole time. And I finished up clearing the area. And it was approximately, I would say, right around 9 p.m. that evening. And I had sat back down, was just finishing everything up and clearing everything up, and thinking to myself, this is just crazy. There's got to be an explanation for this. And by the time I was starting to get up to leave, I heard 2 very loud knocks that were approximate, or they were in the north of where I was actually sitting. and I would say it sounded like maybe less than 100 yards, but it was very loud. At that point, I tried another knock, ran around trying to find a stick and tried another knock, but never heard anything after that. And that's pretty much the whole story on that. I did have another. I'm not saying encounter, but I heard some very strange noises during the first shotgun season of November, and I've actually got that recorded. But what it actually sounds like, or what it actually is, I'm really not sure. And that's about the story.
All right, Dan, thank you very much for sharing all that with me. Why do you think this thing growled at you?
I have absolutely no idea. The only thing I can think of is I've been clearing all day and working all day with my I've got a Kubota tractor, so I was clearing with my tractor and with my bush hog, and I'm thinking maybe once everything kind of quieted down, because they've been all afternoon and into that, like I said, into the evening, and I have absolutely no idea where the sound came from or what it actually was, but I've never heard anything quite like that, because I've owned the property for over 30 years. And in the 30 years that I've owned that property, I've never heard anything close to that sound, nothing close to that sound. And with that, uh, I mean, that's pretty much about all it.
Yeah, and you're for sure it wasn't a coyote. It sounded completely different,
I'm
huh?
for sure. The sound of this was so loud that there's no way it could have been a coyote. Uh, if it was a bobcat, it had been right next to me, because it was so loud. It kind of drew me back a little bit when I first heard it.
Yeah.
But
Was it like a
as
lion
far as
or like
it was like a like I say, it was like a roar of a lion almost, and somebody had set a speaker right next to me, and that's how loud it was, and that was the impact on me. As far as once I heard that, I went, oh, that's I've never heard anything quite like that at all. And like I said, I've lived there 30 years, 30 plus, not lived there, but I've hunted the property, been on the property well over 1,000 times, and never heard anything even remotely close to that sound.
yeah. And you were aware of Bigfoot before this experience?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
Okay. And I've heard people say that coyotes run with the Sasquatch. They kind of hang out together from time to time. But I've also heard the same thing about Dogman. I'm not sure if you believe in that, but there's a lot of reports about those things too.
I've heard about Dogman, yeah, but I really don't know a whole lot about him or it or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah. I don't think anybody does, even people that have encountered it. It leaves them
Yeah, that would be.
perplexed.
I mean, Bigfoot's. But if you see a Bigfoot, like I said, I've never seen the the animal or what it was, but I'm guessing it was a Bigfoot. But I mean, it's you see it. If you see Dogman, and like I said, I'm still not sure on that one, on the Dogman thing, on the Dogman theory. I mean, but from what I'm every time I'm watching, or kind of picking up shows and everything on it on YouTube, and it's I'm starting to waver that way a little bit more than I ever did before. So
Yeah. And this property, was it kind of vacant for a while? Like you owned it, but you weren't always there?
yeah, I don't live on the pro. I'm sorry, I don't live on the property there in Donaldson. I own the property, and like I said, I've owned it for over 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe that creature or these creatures were living around the area. Maybe they were utilizing the pond, and maybe the loud noise from the Kubota tractor made them angry.
Yeah, that and I forgot to mention too that every time I go out there, and it wasn't to feed them. I just whenever we have apples or I have a pear tree and stuff like that, I'd always bag up and put them by the pond, just for the animals to eat. And I don't know if that may have made a difference or not, but if I was being maybe gifted, I think they call it was with the bones. But it was strange, because I never was during the whole time. I never was really scared, and that was a well, of course I didn't actually have my gun. I usually carry a gun out there when I'm out there, but at that time I didn't, because I was just clearing brush, and like I was saying, wasn't worried about anything, or even thinking remotely of what this would happen.
Yeah, maybe unknowingly you were feeding these creatures.
Yeah, I could have been. Yeah, very true. I did have an experience before, but like I said, there was never a sound or anything. But I'd been probably about 10 years before this occurred. I was up on my tree stand, and I actually left the tree stand. Yeah, they say you get that feeling. I got that feeling because of something loud where I was near where I was hunting, or something big. I mean, I'm sorry, something big where I was hunting, and I got out of the tree stand, took off running to my truck, and my truck was like 200 yards away, and I never stopped running. I just ran straight to the truck, got in, and left. But never heard anything. But yeah, I mean, never see anything. But it just sounded, whatever it was big, and that was the only actually. So maybe I've had 2 times out there, but it was never any kind of a sound or anything. Just the hairs went up on my neck when I. And I've never got out of the tree stand, just took off running, and I did that day.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about that same type of experience. You said that you used to live in Collinsville, Illinois. I think I bought my Mustang
Yes.
from Collinsville. Isn't that where Popeye the Sailor Man was created?
No, that's what is that down south?
Chester, Illinois, isn't it?
Chester. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the Menard prison there. I started at Pontiac prison, which at the time was the worst prison in the United States. Nobody had told me that when I started. I actually thought I was working at a with kids and stuff. I'd never heard of Department of Corrections before in 1979. I was kind of about maybe 2 years out of high school, and just got laid off. So I thought, you know what, I'll give this a try, see what it is. And she asked me 2 questions. She said, "Do you?" She said, "An inmate's got a knife to an officer's throat. What would you do?" And I said, "Well, I said, first of all, what kind of job is this? I thought this was working with kids." And she goes, "No." She goes, "It's a prison." I said, "Oh, that's okay. That's all right. I don't really don't want to work in a prison." She goes, "What would you do?" I said, "Well, I'd shoot the son of a bitch." She goes, "Can you start Monday?" I said, "Okay." I was kind of thinking she may be, when I said that, it was like, okay, maybe we don't need you. But she said, "Can you start Monday?" Of
Yeah, she's
course,
like,
they
you're
didn't tell
hired.
me there was, yeah, they didn't tell me there was a 100% turnover rate there either. So,
Yeah.
because they just had a riot and 3 guards had been killed.
So you've experienced some crazy stuff
I've
at the
seen, I've
workplace.
seen stuff at the Pontiac. Yeah, I've seen stuff that nobody would believe, and I've never believed the stories I've seen.
Yeah, I can only
My clerk
imagine.
was actually my clerk was actually the #1 Latin King. I don't know if you've ever heard of Latin Kings before. It's a gang out of Chicago.
Hmm.
But he was my clerk that I had in the cell house was actually the head of the Latin Kings, #1 Latin King. So yeah, I've seen some stuff. Then I transferred down to Graham, which is a medium-sized prison, but it's also it was I consider medium high. So I about 40-50% of our inmates were murderers, or attempted murder. So yeah, that's I retired in '07 after close to 30 years. I thought that was enough. I'm ready for a break. So
Yeah, I'm sure it's psychologically challenging working at a place like
oh
that.
yeah, yeah. I was actually interviewed by the United or Atlanta Journal Constitution the 1 year after the riot. I was working in one of the cell houses, which was considered they asked to talk to the guard that actually had it was in the worst of the worst part of the prison, and that happened to be me that day. And so I just pretty much told them what they asked, what they asked me, and I didn't hold anything back. So
Yeah, when the riot happened, did everybody go nuts and things got
no, well,
extremely crazy, I guess?
they actually were on lockdown
Mm.
when I started there. They were on lockdown, and I had worked through maybe I would say maybe 2 months when it came off of lockdown, and I was actually standing roll call. We probably had 100 officers at the time, and the warden came in and was explaining to everyone that we're coming off lockdown today. And I would say half, if not more, of the staff walked out and quit. I thought, damn, where's everybody going? It's like, oh, it's not that bad. It's just coming off lockdown. But about half the staff walked out, quit. I kind of knew I was going to have an interesting time while I was up in Pontiac.
Yeah, so there's a high turnover rate there.
Yeah, Yeah, there. Well, at the time because nobody wanted to work there. They were. You'd go the first week I was there. They were burning galleries. You know, like the galleries where the one one section of the prison is, or one section of a cell house is,
Hmm.
and there's like 8 or 10 galleries. It depends on our cell houses. And one at the bottom gallery, which is like where I work, the worst of the worst. They were burning that. Decided that day they were going to burn everything. So we were fighting fires all day long, and we had like 8 Marines, 8 guys that were Marines that came in, and 4 of them was working with in the unit we were working in. 4 went out in the population area. I was working in what they call segregation. So that's where the bad ones get in trouble. They go to the segregation. Well, that day they decided to burn, decided to burn everything, and by the time the next day came around, the all 8 had quit. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was an interesting time.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So, have you ever had any paranormal or UFO experiences?
No, never have.
Okay. Yeah, I
No,
figured I'd ask. Yeah,
yeah,
I
no,
think
never had that.
I think that pretty well covers your interview. And
I didn't get much sleep last night again, so it sounds like I'm kind of blabbering there. Apologize for that. It's just I'm just trying to get some sleep between during the daytime too, and
hmm,
just because in the evenings I get about 4 or 5 hours sleep, and then I'm waking back up again and trying to fall back asleep with this shoulder. They had actually done the reverse on it, so it's called the reverse shoulder. So that's the last stage of the shoulder surgeries. They don't do any more after that. So been kind of fighting this for a couple of weeks. So
yeah, I
anyway,
understand, and I'm sorry to hear about that.
oh no, it's okay. That's fine. Like I said, I apologize if I sound like I'm scattered all over the place, but
No, no, you did great, and yeah, I appreciate your time and your willingness to share your experience with me here on the channel. That really means a lot.
yeah, and like I said, I really I've been ridiculed when I've told the story, but all I can say is I know what I heard. I've never seen anything, but I know what I've heard, and it's just awful coincidental that the bones came up the next day when they weren't there the day before, and then the knocks that night. So I thought, no, nah. Because at first, like I said, I was sitting at the table. I'm thinking, there's got to be an explanation for this. There's got to be. And when I started to leave that evening, like I said, right around 9, is when I heard the 2 knocks, and I thought, oh, you know what I did leave out was that there was about a week later when I was cleaning everything up from the party, when I had heard something to the south of me, southwest of me, where the power lines were. That was sounded like the sound that I had heard, but at a distance.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I appreciate you for adding that. And you never know, whenever you go back to this property, you might experience more activity. So keep your head on a swivel, keep your eyes peeled, and just
yeah,
be on the
and
lookout.
also I do have a video. Um, it's actually more of a sound because that was my shotgun season, and I had heard something, so I immediately turned on my phone. But it's at such a distance that I can't make out what it is. But it's definitely a very strange sound. Uh, do you know anybody that I could get a hold of to see if I get that background cleared up, where I could hear what it is, or maybe if you guys could hear what it is?
Yeah, you can send it over to me on Facebook, and I'll put it through the editing software and do some audio on
Okay.
it.
And would you like the picture of the? I've also took pictures of the bones that were there. Whether that would mean anything or not,
Yeah, feel free to send them
I can
over,
send
and I'll
those.
check them out.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good, buddy.
All right, Dan. Well,
Yeah, I enjoy your show. I did just started watching it, and actually I was at an auction, and someone had said something to. I had said something to this person that I kind of knew through different people at the auction. They said, "Oh, I heard you were interested in Sasquatch," and I said, "Well, yeah." And that's when they said, "Well, check out Sasquatch Theory." So that's why I thought I'd write to you guys.
oh, well, that's cool. It's hard to believe so many people are watching the channel, and I'm glad that you found it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's kind of. I mean, like I said, it's kind of refreshing to be able to talk to somebody that doesn't think you're crazy. I mean, as far as what you've heard from me, does it sound like that maybe this was a possible encounter without actually seeing?
Yeah, it sounds like it from what you described with the growl and the wood knocks that night. I would say so.
Yeah, Okay. Did I leave out the wood knocks too? I'm sorry.
No, you mentioned it.
Okay. All righty. If there's anything else you need, Miguel, just give me a call, buddy, and if I can help you out anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me know what you experience or encounter in the future, and I'd be glad to talk to you again.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna. What I think I'm gonna do is start setting up some trail cams around my pond and in that area. I've got several, probably 8 or 10 different trail cams. So I'm gonna start setting those up. See if maybe I could pick something up there too. But what I also forgot to mention, Miguel, was from where my property is, the power lines are probably maybe a half mile to a mile away, also. And I never even realized that there was power lines out there all the years I've been out there until I started looking around. Oh, if there's power lines right here, I didn't even realize. The big, tall power lines that run through.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
I didn't know that. With that, I had heard that they travel after starting to read up on it a little bit. I heard they had traveled the power lines too, and I thought, well, hell, that sounds about where the power lines was when I heard that sound, or when I heard it was a Bigfoot sound. And I thought, well, maybe that does make a little more. Everything's starting to come together, make a lot more sense now that you start, reading up on it a little bit.
Yeah, they very well could be traveling the power lines, and it sounds like that's one of their travel routes in the area that you've had your experiences in.
Now, this occurred in October. Are they they come through the area and just keep moving, or they actually kind of set roots?
It's hard to say. I've heard experiences and encounters all year round, spring,
Mm-hmm.
winter, summer, fall. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's all pretty random to me anyways.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Miguel. I helped you out. Any at all?
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you for sharing your experience and for the time that you spent doing so.
Okay. Well, thank you. Appreciate you for listening.
Yep, no problem. And you be safe out there, my friend.
You too, buddy.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. All right, Dan, thank you very much for sharing your Bigfoot experience with me, and I do believe it was Bigfoot, especially because you described here in this vocalization that sounded very unusual, and the wood knocks. I have heard of a lot of cryptid reports east of the Mississippi River, or actually on both sides, but there's a lot of Bigfoot reports from Springfield, Illinois, going all the way down to the Shawnee National Forest, so I do believe these creatures are around Hillsboro. And yeah, you experienced Bigfoot activity that day. So I am glad that you contacted me and shared this experience with me, because I'm sure there's other people out there that have had encounters or experiences in this same area. There may be somebody listening right now that's had a Bigfoot encounter in this same area. It makes me think these creatures were around your property because you are not living there. It's an area that's usually quiet, and you showed up one day and caused a disturbance on the land, which triggered these creatures, and they let you know. I'm surprised you didn't see one, but I think if you would have spent more time there and would have looked around a little bit more, possibly you would have ran into a Sasquatch creature, or maybe even if you camped outside for the night. But I don't blame you for not wanting to do that. All right, everyone, I appreciate you guys for listening today, and if you have a Bigfoot encounter you would like to share with me here on the channel, please contact me at sasquatchtheory@outlook.com. Thank you guys, and be safe out in the forest.